I'm Connor Old, and welcome to my brand new series, Old on Old. I call it that because my last name's Old, and this series looks at classic movies. Classic that is deemed sort of in my mind. I will try to make a lot of these movies sort of black and white or really, really old, but my first episode, I decided to do a great movie that I just recently saw because I was looking at Brian De Palma's filmography, which reminds me, now that this is sort of the first episode post-Oscars, and I'm doing this weird thing, I just want to remind everyone, so these old old on old videos will be coming out on Thursdays, which will be shorter compared to my Masters of Controlled Chaos video, which looks at a director's career. Those come out once a month, and this month is going to be Brian De Palma. So check out that week, next week on Sunday. I plan on uploading that. But I decided to sort of celebrate that episode coming out. I'd watch some of his movies because I went through a lot of his back catalog, and believe it or not, I have not seen Carrie. Now, you have to sort of take my word on this one right at the beginning because I'm not a horror guy. I'm not a big horror fan. I've only seen some more of the more classic horror movies. I don't rush out to see a horror movie in theaters. Even if it's good, I'll probably just wait if I ever watch it at all. Something about the genre doesn't necessarily gravitate towards me because I find a lot of modern day horror movies to be sort of creepy, to be like gory and bloody and with monsters, and I actually sort of resonate to more older horror movies, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But on Old Oscar Countdown, we sort of answer some key questions, one of them being the historical impact of this movie. Now, I can't say too much about it because I can't say how much this movie influenced other horror movies, except that it did. I know that other smart people tell me how influential it is on the horror genre, but because of my lack of knowledge of that genre, I just want to make it abundantly clear that I don't know entirely sure how important it is. That being said, I can still answer sort of the major question, which is, does it hold up? Is it a good movie? Despite being a classic, does it hold up for a modern day audience viewer? You know, this is my first time seeing it only a couple weeks ago. That's with a lot of these movies are going to be the situation because I'm in this really unique position. So does it hold up? Yes, it does. I was a big fan of Carrie, and I actually decided to talk about it in this episode because I saw it recently instead of talking about it in my Brian De Palma episode. So if you're like, Connor, why don't you talk about Carrie at all in your Brian De Palma episode? Just a tease for that. I don't talk about that there, so I can talk about some of his other amazing movies because Brian De Palma is a great director, as I had learned. But we're talking about Carrie here, and I talked about before starting into it about these modern day horror movies. A lot of them are gory, a lot of them have lots of monsters, but this one, it's less of a horror movie as it is just really creepy, and I think at the end of the day it comes down to Brian De Palma and his incredible visual style that he really nails it out of the park. I mean, there's so many elements here. Of course, Sissy Spacek plays an incredible role. You have Nancy Allen and John Travolta and sort of the bully and the boyfriend of the bully there. I forget who plays Tom, but he's also a great actor. Everyone does a great job across the board, but really, I think Carrie comes down to its relatable protagonist. You have such a unique film, and this came out in 1976. Another year with such a unique protagonist that I've never seen in film before, really of any other extent, as Taxi Driver, Robert De Niro's character, and the same thing here with Carrie. We start the film opening with this incredible visceral sort of experience. I mean, there's a couple shots in the movie that I think are actually from Carrie's perspective. This is what I took away from the movie. When you first see the scene, it's pretty much the opening scene of the movie where they're in the locker rooms and Carrie's on her period, and then all the girls start making fun of her and they're throwing tampons at her and she's screaming and the camera's like really close and shaking and it cuts back and forth and it's very chaotic and frantic, and then they back her into the corner, and I think it just sends the audience right from the get-go into this is Carrie's experience. This is what she feels like when she feels bullied, when she feels threatened. She feels like there's this huge thing that she has to get over, this huge idea that she has to sort of get past the idea that these kids don't like her and she's sort of being bullied. And that's what I found compelling about the movie. Because I don't like horror movies, I latched onto some of the other elements of this movie, and this movie is probably first and foremost a horror movie, but secondly a coming of age movie as well. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, some people think it's about a woman sort of coming into her own. Some people think other things. Of course, references are sort of littered throughout it in terms of how you want to interpret it, but it is very much a coming-of-age story because either Carrie's that one person you saw in the hall that stuck by herself and was like, oh, I wonder what that weird girl's doing. Well, they made a movie about her, or that weird girl was you, and you're sort of the person that was sort of on the side. So I think it's a relatable story in that sense, and they make you really sympathize with this protagonist because this protagonist just wants to live a normal life. I see so many parallels with this and X-Men with the whole mutants, and they have this odd thing about them. They just want to live their life like normal people, and they can't. And I think it was just very powerful, and that's where I sort of flashed on. So you have this incredible visceral opening scene, and then sort of goes into maybe some more traditional filmmaking, and we start to sympathize more and more with Carrie. Carrie just wants to be left alone, at least I do, she just wants to be left alone. These kids are teasing her. And then, we eventually see her mother, and which brings into the religious aspect of the movie, where she starts like, you start seeing where, oh, maybe, Carrie, she wants to be normal, but she's living in this weird household, and she has these weird, odd things about her which you don't know yet. But then we see later on in the film that as she gets mad, she has this uncontrollable telekinetic type powers where she can move stuff with her mind. Really scary stuff. And then really the movie progresses as almost a redemption story for Carrie. And I will be spoiling the movie, I just want to say that at the beginning. So it starts this redemption story of Carrie where people are like, there's one person who just thinks, Carrie deserves better. The guy, Tom, the girlfriend of Tom, asked Tom to ask Carrie to prom, and everyone's like, oh, weird. They have the sympathetic teacher that's saying, what's going on? What's the reasoning for this? And at the time, we don't know anything. She consistently says, there's no reason, until we get to the seminal prom sequence. Now, before we get to the prom sequence, I want to talk about my favorite part of the movie, which is the other Carrie viewpoint, which is the 360 shot of Tom and Carrie dancing, in which the camera lingers on Tom and Carrie. They're going 360 the opposite way, and faster than they are spinning, and you can see them, they're both smiling, they're both having a great time. I think this is another experience from Carrie because it's such a visceral camera technique and a visceral decision by Brian De Palma to make this incredible shot where it feels like dizzy and feels distorted, and it's a really unique sort of trick that he does. But it's another thing I think is viewed from Carrie's viewpoint because it's how she experiences happiness as well. She's so overwhelmed by this experience that she hasn't felt throughout the entire movie, probably hasn't felt in years, because she has those incredible sort of embarrassing moments that are so visceral. She also has this sort of happy moments, and almost like a memory. I remember when I go back to sort of my favorite times in high school, I remember some of the most embarrassing ones, some of the most happiest ones, and they feel visceral. They feel like they're still happening, and feel maybe over-dramatized in that sense. But this movie's not over-dramatized, it's pretty real. The acting is sort of subtle in that sense. But then we have to talk about, of course, the big set piece, which is the prom set piece where you have Carrie dancing. You have this whole movie. It starts with Carrie at the bottom, and she's almost like on this redemption story of people liking her, and maybe she can be finally normal, and she's been trying to control her powers, but maybe if she has friends, she can help her through it. And then this whole elaborate scheme comes out into one of the best Brian De Palma set pieces of all time, where he drags out the scene for so long. Carrie and Tom are prom king and queen. They go up, they're waiting there, and then you see the sort of track up, that huge long track to see the pig's blood hanging there, and then it comes back down, and then the whole slow motion of people realizing, oh no, and then like they're trying to stop it, and then it's too late, they pull it, and then the pig's blood all over Carrie, and people are laughing, and it's the thing that makes Carrie snap. And this is the horror part of the movie, because it's not really a horror movie. It's, like I said, it's creepy. That's what I like to say. I wasn't necessarily scared by it. So if you're wondering if it doesn't hold up in terms of scary factor, it's creepy, it's scary. There's some crazy things with the crucifixion of the mom and the flying knives and just that visual sort of imagery that they create. It's really creepy. But it's not like modern day creepy, not modern day horror like with jump scares and gore and stuff like that. I mean, of course, there's an incredible amount of blood, but that's it. That's the sort of scary image of the movie. And she goes crazy and goes and slams the doors, and people are locked in, and goes absolutely berserk, and it's a crazy sort of ending to a movie, that's for sure. But that set piece just shows how incredible Brian De Palma is as a director, because he's able to craft it using his signature split screen to sort of tell you what's going on at one point and tell you what's going on at the other point, and using suspense by dragging out the scene. An incredible job done by him. But really, the takeaways from this, for me, was the incredible visual imagery, the incredible Brian De Palma set pieces as I was looking through his filmography, and the really relatable protagonist. I mean, you have a creepy sort of movie with incredible visuals and visual sort of striking images that are iconic today for a reason, and this incredible protagonist that is so unique in a film, because yes, it is a coming of age movie, but there's so many more things going on in it, and it's this redemption story, but at the end, and she doesn't get her redemption, and it's sad, and you feel for some of the other kids who tried to help and it didn't work out, but it just, unfortunately, people will always put her down because she'll always see her as different, and always see her as a freak, and it's a relatable story in that sense, and I found it to be a great movie, despite its horror aspects. I'd actually probably, it doesn't work without its horror aspects, but I would watch it if you just told me it was a coming of age movie with some creepy images. I'd be like, yeah, sure. So maybe don't go into this one watching as a horror movie. We'll go into it as maybe watching as sort of a very strange, creepy coming of age type movie, maybe like Raw of last year. That was an interesting one as well. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the series. These are going to be 10 to 15 minute quick little bites of what I thought of the movie, and just asking sort of these age-old questions: the historical impact, and does it hold up? So I enjoyed Carrie. I hope I enjoyed some more of these classic movies that I've never seen before. Make sure to comment below. Let me know maybe some of other classic movies that you want me to watch. Maybe I have watched them, so name a bunch down below and I'll see, and I'll respond to the comments, the ones that I haven't seen before, and then maybe I'll put them in some next episodes. And stay tuned for Sunday's video where I do Brian De Palma on a really 40-minute long lengthy Masters of Controlled Chaos. I'm Carrrie, and until next time, stay tuned.